What's up, everybody? Greg Chapman here, Gentleman Gorilla Small Business Marketing Podcast. I'm here today with Ryan McNamara.
The silverback gentleman gorilla, because
Yes,
I will be
sir.
my monkey's uncle if this is not the best podcast ever. So let's make it happen.
Fuck yeah, buddy. This was a good kickoff. All right, so Ryan, I did a little bit of digging on you, and I saw that you have a dog walking service. You've recently started dabbling in music, and I even saw you did your first stand-up comedy the other day.
Yeah,
So you're kind of a man of multiple endeavors,
having fun.
having fun.
It's having fun and then having the plan with the process.
Okay, I want to hear more about this.
So if you want to talk about the comedy, it was my first time ever doing stand-up comedy. I had the idea to do it, and then someone wasn't gonna, or they didn't show what, like, basically flaked.
Okay.
But I said, no excuses. Go anyway. Went there.
So you just walked up on stage. Did you have any pre-planned material?
I did. What's funny was I did, but I literally went improv on it.
Okay.
I went improv, and I actually kind of bombed towards the end. But it started out hot, but, you know, you make the most of it. I edited the video and made it look spot on. It's like, you just got to make the most of whatever you're working with.
So basically, you just looked at it as like, I mean, I feel like anytime anyone is gonna go up and do improv or stand up for the first time, it's like, all right, probably not gonna be, the best, but you're just gonna fucking do it.
You do it, and it's interesting is because I had pre-material, right, that I was going to go up there with, and I improv'd, and then, I'm doing the music, but what's different about it is, like, how with comedy, how important the delivery is, versus, like, you can memorize a song. It's not hard to do, like memorizing a song, but when the delivery component comes to it, and then if you make a choice to improv, like, it was my first time doing it, and I kind of learned the hard way that I don't know exactly what I'm doing. It's my first time doing stand-up comedy, but I went up and I did a little improv, but it was fun. Like, it was fun, and then it's like, I'll get up there again and go again.
I mean, I feel like that's a good, I don't know, like life lesson just to live by. It was just get up on stage and fucking do it. Like, whatever your stage is.
Yeah.
Like, whatever your business is, right?
Yep.
So I'm guessing that that's kind of just how you live your life.
Yeah, I live it in the moment, and I take enough time away from the big, like, rat race of everything to really let my subconscious mind give it really what it needs. Because a lot of times I think people, they get caught up in, like, what they're supposed to do, and they don't take enough time to take a step back and really explore what it is their subconscious mind is telling them to do.
Okay. So I guess, how did you live your life that got you to this point where you're just like, I'm just gonna do everything that I want to do? Like, where were you?
Yeah, so
Like, how did your life start? Like, your adult life?
well, so, going into my adult life, like, I had, like, ADD, and took medicine from the time I was knee high.
Okay.
And, you feel like this is another lesson, like, don't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. And when I say that, I mean, like, people judge themselves, or they perceive that people are judging them on their ability to do something that isn't even their actual calling.
Mm-hmm.
So they get discouraged. They let other people dictate their worth or their value, and that's, like, just a mistake. And because after, like, high school, right?
Yeah.
I went to community college and dropped out after a little bit, but got some jobs, had some success with the jobs that I was doing, but you kind of gain more insight of, like, once you have more control over what you're doing and what you want to do, and there's not mommy or daddy or whoever that figure is for you, trying to, like, push you to be a certain thing, you have the luxury of really taking, like, what you want and making, like, what you want. And there was a lot of times, and, like, we were just talking about this even before the podcast, it's like, with entrepreneurship, like, dude, you will bottom.
Yeah.
You will hit the canvas, and it's like,
Not every day is a good day.
Not every day is a good day, and entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
No,
It
no,
isn't.
it's not.
Like, it's not for everybody, and you know, giving whatever it is your thing is, just give it enough time to develop, and don't pump the brakes and say, you know what, it's a lost cause now. There's things like you could run a business and get so much accomplished, but then you're like, oh, you know what, I didn't get the final result that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like so many people would get discouraged by that, but it's like you could still put whatever that project was that was a lost cause and just let it sit on hold, because you already put like a lot into it, and you can pick it up when you want to, when you feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to go back and touch a little bit on, you mentioned kind of like you said the famous Dr. Seuss quote, "Can't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree."
Yep.
So, and then definitely like growing up, ADD, like feeling like you're not cut out to do what everybody else is saying you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like, so I really want to ask you and hopefully let you share a little bit about like what was it like for you, kind of, because you get out of the school system and everything, and then all of a sudden like you have the freedom to start making your own decisions on what direction you want to go.
Yeah.
So like what was it like for you having the realization of like, all right, so my brain works differently than all of these other people around me. Like, how do I find out what's going to work for me? Like, what was that like for you, kind of discovering yourself in those moments?
Yeah. I think making a grown-up decision to say, hey, such and such people, like, I need to cut these people out, at least for now, or set firm boundaries with them if they're doing anything to step on your toes. You know, set firm boundaries with them, or just...
You mean like the people that kind of have like
Yeah,
positions of power over your
sure,
life a little bit?
you know,
or...
like, I'll buy you a car if you go to school or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just have the strength, I guess, to say, hey, like, despite that you guys, you know, want to give me, you know, a whole bunch of stuff to do what you want me to do, have the I don't know, the courage, the strength, and just know that you have what it takes to do it. And I promise you, if you seek out people who will help you with that, there are people who will help with that. You have to seek out help. Do not expect help in life to seek you out.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, definitely from my own personal experience. I mean, for my own reasons, I was definitely, I didn't fit the mold and needed to create something for myself. So I definitely understand where you're coming with that. But it's definitely, I never started to see success, or the only times I ever did see success were when a team was around me, or I had support, or people that knew who I was and what I was trying to do and believed in me.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up, man, because so many people have talents and abilities, but they don't have one person in their life that's telling them, hey, I believe in you. You know, all it takes is like that much for someone who hasn't heard that to, like, everyone's different, man. When it comes to coaching people, managing people, some people need to get broken down and some people need to get built up. Mm-hmm. And you know, you see what those people are. It's like the people who are pretentious and cocky and just think those are the people that need to get broken down and humbled. But there are people who, you know, are already humble. And it's still like, man, it's the subconscious mind. Like, your subconscious mind you'll see someone or be working with somebody. Maybe he's a little bit younger than you and he's a kid. And like, you see something in him that you saw yourself at that time, when you were at that time in your life struggling with. And like, you just take pleasure in helping that person because you naturally like favor that person. Because like, you know, if you're not helping yourself, I'm not going to help you, period.
You can't help people that won't help themselves. You can. So what happens when you continually reach down to try and pick people up is they become dependent on you to put in the work for them, to get them up, to get them motivated, to all that. Like, and then it becomes a system where you have to work before they'll do any work. And that just is a negative energy system.
Yeah. And
And
when you see people already working, and you see like just kind of like sometimes even just selfless acts, where sometimes it seems like people in today are just so into themselves that they just block out everything. But there's every
I
that
think people have always been into themselves. It's just that now
guilty as charged.
people can more easily share with the public how into themselves they are.
True. And there's no shame in that. There's no problem like feeling yourself like Mac Dre a little bit. You know, there's no
Yeah.
problem. There's no problem with feeling yourself a little bit, but just don't get so into yourself that you just have no sense of like how your actions are affecting other people, especially if they're people like that are close to you in your life or in your life in some way. If you kind of completely disregard to the fullest like how your actions affect other people, if it's people you care about or people
Yeah.
you value, you should not do that. That's not a good move, because then people who would otherwise, like another example, like I saw Kyrie Irving on SportsCenter the other day, and he's like calling out his teammates, saying like this is the media. He's saying like hey, we need like two or three more pieces, like to really win a championship. And this on this given day, this dude had the worst plus minus on the floor, like efficiency wise, the worst plus minus on the floor. So he goes up to the media and says, yeah, as you can see, we're really like two or three pieces away. But he doesn't stop there. He says like, we got our core guys. We got me, so and so, so and so. But then he leaves out like a bunch of people. It's like, dude, you alienate people who are trying to achieve the same goal you are. Inevitably, just and it's
And
not. I think it's lack of awareness on his part, but it's like,
I think it's definitely lack of awareness. It's lack of his awareness of how much power he could possibly have to lead all of these other people to be better players on the team.
yeah,
Whereas, because you're right, like if you're, and you see this all the time, business, sports. I played sports my whole life, and there was always people in that like that on the team that were very, I'm really good, so
yeah,
just play around me versus being like, no, this is a team sport.
yeah,
The team wins the game.
yep,
You do not win the game by yourself.
Yep.
We can still win without you.
yep,
You cannot win without the rest of the people on the team, no matter how good you are. Like,
Yep.
well, I mean, there's a couple people, like the Jordan, LeBron, you know, Kobe, like,
Yeah. Even-
a once in a generation player.
Yep.
Like they could play 1-on-5 and probably win in basketball.
Yeah.
But those guys are rare.
yeah,
But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's awareness. It's saying, like, yeah, we didn't do great today, but as the leader, it's your responsibility to give the people around you what they need to succeed.
yeah. I mean, for me, for example, when I played volleyball and I played basketball, and when my teammates were on the court and I saw I made a bad play, and then they would go and they would slump their shoulders, kind of just walking. Like sometimes, first of all, more times than not, I wouldn't even say anything to them necessarily, but I would kind of come up from behind them and literally just lift their chin up. Like if
Yeah.
I saw people like put their chin down and like just feel like I just literally just lift the chin up, bro, because it's like you gotta.
Because it's like it already happened.
Yeah.
It's like if you stay in the gutter, you're gonna fuck up the next play
Yeah.
too, and then you're gonna be twice as hard to bring you back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean-
so like get rid of it. Short-term memory.
Yeah.
Short-term memory is key
Dude.
to
yeah.
get rid of the negative shit,
That is huge.
so that you can move forward and work at your best.
Yes, sir. I mean, even look, my brother, for example, like he played D1 college football. He played at USC. He played at the University of Oklahoma. He had a short stint in the NFL with the Browns. But I remember him, for example, like on the Rose Bowl game, he was playing against Saquon Barkley over at the UCLA at the Rose Bowl.
So you had a real fun game.
Yeah. First of all, let's go off on that, man. He in that game, the night before they were just partying, right? And my brother had like a flu, like 100-something fever, and it was before the game, and he was hooked up to IVs, like saline, just pumping fluid. He's like I'm playing. And
Yeah, you don't miss the Rose Bowl.
no, if you can play, like you play, especially as long as you're effective. And it's hard, and that's the thing. Like with being an athlete, is it's like your mind's gonna tell you go, but there's gonna people like trainers, in your corner who are going to say, you know what, man, it's probably if you could play if you want to, but like, are you effective?
Yeah.
And it's what it ultimately boils down to. Are you effective? Or are you a liability on the court,
Oh,
on
yeah.
the field, on the ice arena?
Oh, yeah, one of the biggest playoff games I ever had, rugby playoffs here in San Diego. Actually, I got just a random high ankle sprain. I was literally just running in a gentle arc,
Yeah,
and then just somehow, like, I don't know, it was a tough to grass, a little divot in the grass, or if I just ran weird.
yeah,
Just high ankle sprain, and I was down for a minute, and then went to continue to play.
yeah,
And this is one of the biggest games I've ever played in, and just
yeah,
coach had to take me out, and
yeah,
then I couldn't play the next day either.
yeah,
And it's just they needed me in there, but the backup was better than me
yeah.
after a certain point because I just couldn't keep up anymore.
Yeah, and it's healthy to have that understanding to trust the coach. I know you as an athlete, I know you wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're like, dude, put me in the game. But if you have at least can take it from your coach that, hey, it's like, he understands like right now because of my ankle, I can't cut on the field the way I would like to. And if I have to defend, maybe my guy who I'm supposed to defend is, fast and explosive out of his routes or whatever. And it's like you're just more of a liability in that particular set. And it's a hard pill to swallow because as an athlete, you want to
Yeah.
play.
And I mean, and that brings it back full circle to what we were talking about earlier, like finding people to keep around you that know what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yep.
They know when you're playing well.
Yep.
They know when you're playing poorly.
Yep.
And they know when to tell you
Yep. Tell you
when
what
you're
you
playing
need to
poorly.
hear.
Yeah.
What you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Which is absolutely necessary when you're getting your own business off the ground,
Yep.
or even not even necessarily your own business, anything with work,
Yeah.
anything in life. Like you gotta have people around you that are like, hey, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's hard because sometimes, especially if you're like a pro athlete or someone, they a lot of times they surround themselves with yes people.
mm-hmm.
They don't want to tell people what they need
And
to
I don't
hear.
even know if it's always intentional. I feel like
Yeah.
naturally people always want to follow a leader a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so people naturally a lot of times become yes people. Like it takes another leader to tell a leader
Yeah.
when they're fucking up.
Yeah. And that's a leader.
Somebody that person doesn't have power over.
Sure. And I think that's I'm glad you brought up leadership. I think that was a gorgeous way to steer the conversation. But leadership is so important because I think as an entrepreneur, the biggest testament, I think, to your success as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest puzzle pieces, the biggest thing is, or even let's just say if you're an employee, when you walk into a building and you're an employee, I tell every job interview I go to, I told my employer, look, like I judge my success based on how many capable leaders I had when I walked in this building and how many capable leaders I had when I left this place. Because it's developing those guys and developing where you bring so much value, and it's like you have to be willing to redefine your role
Yep.
at some point if it's not the best interest of the ultimate goal. And sometimes people will struggle with that. Maybe if it's sports, you're a prolific scorer or something. But it's like now that you're getting a little bit older, you can't move the way. Now it's like you can add value by coaching up some of these younger talents, these draft picks or whatever. But it's learning to when it is the best time to redefine your role, how you can be the best asset you can be. Because eventually, first they're gonna walk in. Let's make them producers. Let's do our best to make them prolific producers. But after they become those prolific producers, you want them to be develop them into leaders, meaning they can develop leaders themselves. And have you ever read a book? It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Actually, I have not, but it is on my short list. It's coming up very soon here.
That is one of those books that is so unreal. It's like you can flip to any page in the book, and I feel like you can pull something like very meaningful.
What is your I guess your favorite thing that you pulled from the book? Like what really struck you as like I need to do this immediately?
Wow. So the big thing, right, is there's the 4 quadrants. So you have urgent, not urgent, important, not important. So you got urgent.
Yeah.
So you want to be in quadrant 2, which is important but not urgent. which is where you can develop some of these guys and you invest in people. It's like one of the biggest lessons you can learn from that is you invest in people. Because when you can be in that quadrant where it's important, but it's not like, oh my God, Greg, okay, I got to meet up with you right now, dude. Like, but you can just set aside time to develop people. And another thing that I took away from that book is stewardship. Practicing, excellent stewardship, which is, Greg, you sat me down today for a podcast. You would be like, okay, Ryan, so this is how I like to do my podcast. I like to set up my squid on the thing. I like to have a little cup of water, make yourself nice and comfortable, and then we just sort of relax and sort of talk and stuff. But he's like, if there's anything I can do to make this podcast experience like more easier for you, you just let me know. So you kind of sorry.
Well, you're all good.
But yeah, you just sort of let people know like, hey, this is how I personally do it. But if you do it more effectively in a different way, and if there's anything I can do on my end to help this process become more effective / easier for you, just let me know. And another thing from that book would be the emotional bank account. So it's like when you
Emotional bank account.
Emotional bank account. So you emotional bank account is like, Greg, I told you I'd be at this podcast at 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Look what happened. I'm here. That's a deposit right there in an emotional bank account.
Fuck
right
yeah,
there,
buddy.
But you own your word, because then it strengthens the bank account. The more times like I tell you like, hey, I'll do this, and I do it, it builds trust. And when you build trust, that's the kind of trust you want on any team. I don't care what team you want trust. But when you can develop that and just take note of that every time, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, we'll meet here, but just have like I don't know, maybe I have a daughter. Like she said she would be here at like 10 o'clock. She's like late. That's going to be a withdrawal to the bank account right there. So obviously you don't have to like actually draw a bank account.
Yeah.
but just be mindful of that because it goes a long way. Like it goes a long way when you really, like I said, man, that book, you can open it to any page and be like, wow.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll definitely have to check that. What was it 7 Habits of Highly Effective
Yep.
People, right?
By Stephen Covey. Do you have any books, man, that are like the money books for you?
Oh man, yeah. I'm almost finished with it. It's actually over there. It's This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. And he basically, it's this guy. He's been atop of the marketing field for a couple of decades, and he's basically, this book is imparting wisdom on basically everything that was marketing, like mass media, just getting the info to as many people as possible, to now like hyper specialization in what you're doing and to like find your tribe,
Nice.
and how to basically take all of the noise and try and remove it,
Yeah.
and to be very clear and concise with your message.
Yeah.
And trust that as long as you keep putting yourself out there, and continue to be truthful and honest about who you are and what you do and why you believe in what you're doing,
Yeah.
then your followers will come to you.
Yeah. I definitely believe that. I read a book. I don't remember the name of the book. My brother, who he got his master's in marketing at USC, he recommended this book to me. I was out in Julian camping, but it was an interesting one of the things I remembered from it was there was a brand. I want to say the brand was Method, but don't quote me on that. Like for cleaning materials,
Okay.
how it's natural, all natural. Like I don't know if it's organic, but clean materials, and they, that's their mission statement from the jump. So another company that are bigger companies, I don't know the companies off the top of my, Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah.
They offered a line of like natural clean products, but it showed in the long run that those didn't do as well, even close, like night and day difference from the Method. That was the mission statement. We do clean. So like you're saying, having that cut and dry, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and I'm putting myself out there from the jump.
Yep.
Because then people buy into that. People have brand loyalty.
Yeah.
That's
People make their, I guess, like their outward perceptions, based on like the brands that they associate with.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's like one of the reasons like why being a vegan is such a thing. Like like I identify as a vegan or I identify
Yeah, thank you, Tony.
as keto.
Keto, Tony.
Yeah. So
This is not Tony's brand, but Tony Cohen, he does Prove It, and his thing is it's ketones,
yeah.
and it's one hell of a product, man. Because what people don't realize with the ketones is what essentially it does is you want to go into ketosis, which is where your energy shifts from glucose to fat. And
Yeah.
when you use fat as energy, it's a superior energy. It's not even close. But what happens is it's hard to do because a lot of times people are eating a lot of sugar, especially high fructose corn syrup. There's like science behind that like makes it more.
It just destroys the body.
Yeah, it does. And what happens is with his products is he has a one for coffee that you pour in the coffee, but it basically what it does is he has tasty products. They're delicious.
Yeah, they're very delicious. He gave me a nice sample bag.
But what it does is it's like if you're having trouble like with the dieting component, because think about it, you got to switch from sugar to fat, and it's like fish, salmon, but yeah, what it does is basically it helps you reach there more efficiently because it's tasty. It's super tasty. Like if you do it before a workout, if you do it before, it'll help you get there versus trying to just, for example, eat coconut oil because it has those medium.
Just spoonfuls of MCTs.
Yeah, the medium chain triglycerides, dude. Those things are. First of all, coconut oil, guys, like on the low, don't tell anybody, but coconut oil is like the answer for everything. Like everything. Just look it up. I don't have time to dive into that right now, but right, coconut oil is a solution for a lot of things.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's like you were saying, like Tony's seeing so much success. Yeah, he's been being picked up by news stations. He's been doing all sorts of. He's been on here to do a couple of podcasts.
Yeah.
He's been doing
cool, dude. And he's a savvy entrepreneur.
Everything, but literally all day, every day. He brands himself.
And he invests
ketones.
in people. He invests the ketones. Yeah.
That is him, and so you don't even need to question it when you're out there.
Like I mean, shout out to Tony because he invests in people, bro. And he invests in people that are invested in him. He's smart. He's really savvy, dude. If you like want to learn about, building a brand from a small business, kudos for bringing him on the podcast. But yeah, like, for me, man, like I'm doing the dog walking thing. Not actually right now. I'm kind of putting it on hold for a second while I pursue this music, which is like hip hop. I produce it, I write for it, I do pretty much everything. But it's so fun, man. Like I find joy in making it, and wow, I just kind of poked the table right there.
You're all good.
But it's like it's fun first, and once you get the business model and the plan behind it, it's like you don't. Like if I go, like first of all, it's very encouraging for me, man, because I haven't touched an open mic yet, and I'm already playing at the Whiskey Girl, like Gaslamp. That was my first. I haven't touched an open mic, dude.
Damn.
Like I've not touched an open mic rapping, but I got the gig booked up at the Whiskey Girl, which is like a blessing. But at the same time, it's like if it's my first gig, I probably will try to do 1 or 2 open mics before I go on. But it's like I will not get discouraged by any means. Like if it doesn't go like it's perfect, or if I don't like sell 1 million trillion tickets, like dude, for me it's like I'm gonna give this thing a time to develop. Like I'll give it what it deserves,
Yeah.
Same with the dog walking. Like dude, I'm nested up, bro. I'm right by Balboa Park, like right by Bankers Hill, dude. I'm footsteps from Balboa Park, so like every day is like another day in paradise for me. So it's like I'm just blessed, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Hell yeah. Well, I'm excited to see your music career blossom.
Yeah.
I guess the big takeaway from today is, in my book, just like it doesn't really matter where you're at, where you're starting from, is just take the time to figure out like who you are, what your gifts or ungifts, I guess you would call them,
I hope
would be, and then to just do it, like regardless, and figure it out on the way, right?
Yeah, and I hope this podcast it helps somebody somewhere, and they get something from it. And please do reach out to me, or reach out to Greg if because we want other small business entrepreneurs to succeed.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest things that I try to push is it's like I try to show people that they're stronger than they think they are, that
Yep.
they're more capable than they think they are,
Yes, sir.
that they don't have to be a professional before they start,
Yeah.
that they just need to start
Yes, sir.
and then you'll figure out how to do it on the way to being a professional in whatever you're doing.
Yep.
So, hell yeah. Tell the people where to find you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also to Anna, bro, Anna Ham about the park.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask her and see if she'd want to come on here. But she's another small business owner that's rock star material.
I'll definitely love to have her on.
Cool.
Hell yeah. Tell the people where to find you, social media handles.
Yes. You can find me on Facebook, Mac the Ripper. You can find me on SoundCloud. It's Mac the Ripper 619, and same with my Instagram. It's Mac the Ripper 619. Yeah, I'll leave a maybe comment or something with the links so people could come check me out. But yeah, man, thank you for having me on, and hopefully in the future come on again sometime.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.